I've currently got the Razer Blade 2018 gaming laptop for testing, and as a thin and powerful laptop, I wanted to test the thermal performance to see what amount of throttling would be experienced. So let's take a closer look and find out if we can improve things with some undervolting. This laptop has Intel's new 8th generation Coffee Lake i7-8750H CPU, which has 6 cores and 12 threads. It's clocked at 2.2 GHz, but the single-core turbo boost speed is 4.1 GHz, while the all-core boost speed is 3.9 GHz, so it will get quite hot with all that power, especially in a laptop this thin, given I've seen it throttling in even larger laptops that I've tested. I've also got Nvidia 1070 Max-Q graphics in this model, so expect different results with the 1060 Max-Q version. I've tested all games with gaming mode enabled. Basically, Razer's sign-up software lets you toggle between balanced mode and gaming mode, where gaming mode will increase your CPU power limit, undervolt the graphics, and overclock the graphics for a bit better performance, which also results in more heat. Thermal testing was completed with an ambient room temperature of 18 degrees Celsius. It's cold here at the moment as it's winter in Australia, so expect warmer temperatures in a warmer environment. At idle, the CPU and GPU were on the warmer side, around 50 degrees Celsius. While playing PUBG at higher settings, we can see that the temperatures rose, as shown in green. By undervolting the CPU by minus 0.140 volts, as shown in yellow, we can reduce the temperature of the CPU a little. The graphics were maxed out at 90 degrees, regardless of the test. This was a combination of power limit and thermal throttling. The full load stress tests were run using AIDA64 and the Heaven benchmark at the same time, and I've tested both the balanced mode and gaming mode here. In balanced mode, the CPU gets a lower power limit, so performs less, as we'll see in the next graph, but temperatures improve a little with the undervolt applied in red. These are the average clock speeds while running the same tests for the temperatures just shown. It wasn't possible to reach the full 3.9 GHz all-core turbo speed in any of these tests, which in the case of the stress tests was due to power limit or thermal throttling. Granted, in PUBG, I don't think the CPU needs to max out as it's not a bottleneck. Which probably explains the lower clock speeds while undervolted in yellow, it just doesn't really matter. Maybe I should be using a different game for this test, but these are the speeds that I saw. With the gaming mode enabled, the TDP increased. So it seems like this affects the power limit provided to the CPU. I wasn't able to otherwise tweak it in Intel XTU. This explains why the clock speeds rise with gaming mode enabled, giving us more power but also a hotter system, as we saw in the last graph. Undervolting in red and dark blue did improve things too, but still not quite enough to fully remove throttling in this particular stress test, but this will of course differ based on the specific workload. Great, so how does this performance boost actually translate to games and applications? In the games tested, the exact same Windows updates, game updates, and Nvidia drivers were installed, so there shouldn't be any changes other than the CPU undervolting. In CSGO, for the most part, we're actually seeing slightly lower 1% lows with the undervolt applied, but slightly higher average frame rates. Ghost Recon was tested with the built-in benchmark, and the results are pretty close together for the most part, but the difference becomes slightly larger at the higher setting levels. Far Cry 5 was also tested with the built-in benchmark, and the results are a mixed bag. Lower 1% lows at all settings, while the averages vary a little. Ashes of the Singularity was tested as a more CPU demanding game, and we're seeing a larger difference at the lower settings on average. But overall, there is a small improvement. As shown, the improvement in CPU thermals and power does seem to translate to slightly better gaming performance. Nothing major, though it of course greatly depends on the game. Some games like Far Cry 5 for instance didn't seem to make a difference, whereas more CPU intensive ones like Ashes of the Singularity received a clear boost. Typically, most games depend on the graphics more than the CPU though, so realistically, in many cases, I don't think you'll see big gains from CPU undervolting here. For that reason, in general, we're not seeing much of a difference in the games tested, whereas CPU-intensive applications should see a larger gain. These are the clock speeds I got while just running CPU-only stress tests without any GPU load. And even with no GPU load, we're still seeing power limit throttling, preventing the full 3.9 GHz speed, but gaming mode and undervolting did help raise this. I've got some Cinebench CPU benchmarks here, and we can see that there's a fair difference in performance just by going from balanced to gaming mode, and we can improve this further with the minus 0.140 volt undervolt. Despite this, I was still seeing power limit throttling as discussed earlier in the CPU-only stress test. The 8750H should be able to pass 1200 in ideal circumstances, but it's not too far behind here, so we're almost able to get full CPU performance in this CPU-only workload. As for the external temperatures where you'll actually be putting your hands, at idle the body of the laptop is sitting in the mid-30s in the center and getting warmer towards the back. While gaming, this increases to the 50s in the center and was a little warm to the touch. although the left and right sides were quite cool in comparison, with very similar results in the full load stress test. As for the fan noise produced by the laptop, I'll let you have a listen to some of these tests. At idle, it was still audible, which was expected based on the warmer idle temperatures. And then while gaming and with the fans maxed out, it wasn't too different from many other laptops I've tested, still a bit loud though. Balanced mode was a little quieter than gaming mode. As we saw before, it gets hotter in gaming mode. I didn't test temperatures for both default fans and manually maxing out the fans, as in gaming mode while playing games or under stress test, I found the fans to be maxed out the same regardless, which would give the same results. As for overclocking, the 8750H CPU can't be overclocked, but I was able to increase the GPU core clock of the Max-Q 1070 little on top of what gaming mode set. These are the average speeds while running the Heaven benchmark in the default balanced mode, with gaming mode, which essentially overclocks the graphics by 100 MHz on the core and 300 MHz on the memory. And then with my manual overclock we get just a little extra, but not much. Gaming mode's already doing a pretty good job. I've retested PUBG with both balanced and gaming modes. And then with the gaming mode undervolted, and we're just seeing small differences in performance between them. I'll also note that I haven't tried manual GPU undervolting here, as gaming mode in the Razer Synapse software has already done this quite well. The differences in performance shown aren't hard and fast rules. There are different factors which will vary results, primarily the temperature you're running in, application of thermal paste, and even the specific hardware which comes down to the silicon lottery. You may not be able to undervolt your 8750H the same as me. It depends on the chip and the specific power requirements. So don't just blindly copy my settings and do some testing to find out where your stable point is for best results. I'm not sure how practical it would be to replace the thermal paste in this model, as it uses a vapor chamber cooler which takes up quite a bit of space. Presumably this could be removed, and paste is used between it and the CPU and GPU, but this isn't really something I can test in a review unit for a number of reasons. Generally, I can't really tamper with a review unit. The laptop needs to work in the same way for the next person to receive it. If I go ahead and remove the stock thermal paste and replace my own, I can't put the old paste back, so the next reviewer would experience something different from what you'd actually see with the product and unknowingly report incorrect information due to what I've done. Undervolting, on the other hand, isn't physically intrusive, and as we've seen, it did improve the performance and temperatures in this particular unit with no downside once you've got a stable undervolt. It's a great way to get back some performance if you're running too hot or facing power limit throttling. Let me know how much of a performance boost you've found by undervolting your hardware, and what you thought of the improvements here. And don't forget to subscribe for the full review of the Razer Blade 2018 gaming laptop, as well as future tech videos like this one.